Hello everyone, this is Sam Breiter and I'm the founder of Run Breiter, a digital running community meant to educate, motivate, and entertain beginner runners and runners who struggle with consistency, see all the mental and physical benefits running provides. I've been coaching runners both in person and digitally for 5 years, but have been running both competitively and casually for 14 years. The Run Breiter podcast gives me the opportunity to bring on guests to share their running journeys and running advice. I assure you, listening to this podcast will make you want to run and follow your journey, as the conversations in this episode will send signals to your mind that even when it's cold, you're sore, tired, or going through something, that a run is still well worth doing. All right, well, welcome to another episode in the Run Breiter podcast. This is episode number 35, and today we're going to be doing a solo episode. It's been a busy time. I've been in Miami, I've been in Austin, and we've been running marathons, and life has felt like a marathon, but we've also been obviously running these marathons. And so in this episode, I'm going to be providing a lot of great tips and value, and really the main focus area that you could expect to learn from and walk away with some awesome takeaways about is going to be, should you sign up for races very close together? I'm talking within a couple weeks of each other, and I really learned a lot from these experiences. But from running these two races back to back within a couple weeks, I know that my effort that I gave on both of these races was not 100%. But still, I would say I probably gave about like an 85% effort on Miami, and for Austin, I probably gave like a 60% effort. If you're someone that is thinking of running races close together like this is the advice I want to give you. And maybe you don't run marathons, maybe you run a race as short as a mile, a 5K, a half marathon, or maybe you run longer than a marathon, you're doing ultras. I don't know what you're doing, but what I do know is that I think this advice is universal, across the board, helpful. I truly think having a race on the board constantly is a way for you inconsistent runners to make sure that you stay consistent with it. And for you beginner runners, running a race is a great way to develop skills to be a more advanced runner over time. I think throughout training, you learn a lot. Throughout races, you learn a lot in a short amount of time. You could potentially learn more in one race than a month of training, in my opinion. It's obviously different for each person, but just from my experience, my advice for a beginner runner is to sign up for a race really as soon as possible, because I think it doesn't matter the shape that you're in. You're not going to be qualifying for the Olympics, right? You're probably not going to be qualifying for Boston if it's your first marathon ever and you're a beginner runner. So I think really just getting out there and running the race itself is something that's important. Now, I'm not saying to go from nothing to a marathon, but like maybe sign up for a 5K as your first race. And if you have to run and walk part of it, then that's great. And then for the next race, you try to improve and run the entire thing, for example. But if you are considering signing up for two races that are close together as a beginner, my advice would be this: sign up for that first race, run that first race, and then make the decision within 24 to 48 hours what your next challenge is and when it's going to be. For the longevity of your running career, to commit yourself to signing up for something, but it doesn't have to be within a couple weeks. It could be a month or 2 months or 3 months out. But I think it's important that you have something on the schedule. I think doing it before that could be a negative, because who knows what can happen during the race. You could deal with incredible soreness, overtraining, injury on the physical side. On the mental side, you could deal with some mental effects. For example, if you don't hit a certain goal that you were hoping to do, maybe you didn't complete the race for a certain reason, and mentally you're feeling down about yourself. I truly think that after a race, you want to process what happens, understand how you react, and then figure out what you're motivated to do next. And part of it is maybe you run a 5K as far as your first race, and then you're like, oh my God, that was so easy for me. I want to do something longer. Or maybe you're like, oh, I really like running, but like 5Ks, this is way too long of a distance for me. I'd rather do something shorter. Or maybe you decide during that race that you want to do something that's more of like a fun run. Maybe you want to incorporate other fitness and do like a triathlon or something like that. I think after a race, it is easier to make a decision about what your next personal fitness challenge or fitness goal is than prior to running it. Now, as you start developing as a runner, maybe you're an inconsistent runner who's been running for years and you want to make sure that you stay consistent with it, and your concern is if you don't have another race that you're signed up for after that last race, then you're not going to get back into training, you're not going to sign up for something. I completely get that. But my advice is this: understand yourself and how you recover from these races. For example, from this experience, what I learned is running 2 marathons in a 4-week span is too much for me. I'm not gonna lie, it is too much. I see runners like David Goggins and all these crazy ultra runners and marathon runners out there who are doing a lot of races and I'm super inspired by them, and I set these big goals for myself, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to do a lot of races in a short amount of time. But being vulnerable right now, what I have dealt with as a result of it is some brain fog, I'm not gonna lie, some exhaustion, feeling overtrained. It's not even like my legs, because physically I'm capable of doing it. I've been running for a long time, I have done the right training, and I've applied the right recovery after the race. I'm stretching a lot, I'm keeping my nutrition in a good spot, I'm drinking a lot of water, a lot of electrolytes. So soreness has not affected me from doing these 2 races. But what has is the mind. I think really physically exerting yourself to levels where you're literally in one day burning 5,000 calories. You are moving 50,000 steps, running 26 miles, moving 30 miles. That is not normal behavior for myself. Some people it can be. They could run that consistently for their whole life and build it up and they're used to it. But currently, that is not normal behavior for myself. But something like a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, I consistently can run at those distances without big fatigue, without exhaustion, without mentally struggling. And so because of that, I know from this experience that every couple weeks, yes, I can go ahead and I can do one of those races, but a marathon, 2 to 3 months is what I'm capable of doing, and where I'll probably see more success as far as times and being ready for those races. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I just ran a 5K a couple days ago, and the race went well, and I had fun, but I'm feeling a little off, feeling a little tired. You don't have to sign up for that next 5K just 2 weeks after. It could be 2 months after, it could be 3 months after. It's okay to really have like a great structured training plan and give yourself time to build up to recover for 1 to 2 weeks after that race. Then that first week, resting a little bit, going on a few easy runs, and then that second week, starting to get back into the training and gradually increasing your mileage throughout an 8 to 12 week training plan. I think that is something that has a ton of value and is going to increase the likelihood of you PRing. But if you walk away from a 5K with a ton of energy, you're feeling great, mentally you have a ton of clarity, and you're just excited for that next race, then run with that. Get after it. Sign up for that next race quickly. Because for me, I know when I do 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, I have that energy, but I'm putting a lot of my energy towards marathons right now because I'm really trying to push myself towards limits that are uncomfortable for me and learn more about myself. I'm on a journey. And you have to figure out your journey, and you have to figure out what's comfortable for yourself, and that is going to make you feeling good while you're running and while you're not. This by no means is to discourage anyone from signing up for races or considering to do a race so quickly after a previous one. I just think it's important that we want to be running for our lives. We don't want to burn ourselves out with anything we do, whether it's running or anything else that you have a passion about. I think doing too much in too short of a time can be a lot. And so it's okay to take a couple steps back. It's okay to lower goals, lower expectations. But at the same time, when you are feeling good, when you have that energy, to run with that. Maybe in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, that energy will shift. And I don't think it solely has to do with running too. There's personal things in life that can contribute towards that feeling. Maybe you're spending a lot of time socially doing certain things, or maybe you're working on a side hustle. For me, I'm spending a lot of time creating content and working on things through my regular job. So I think these things can pile up and affect it. If I was only running and that was my only obligation, then maybe, yeah, I could be running a marathon every 2 weeks. I could maybe run a marathon every day over time. Who knows? I think it's possible. Your body's a battery, essentially. And your body and batteries, unfortunately, are expensive and they run out. And when they run out, you need to recharge it, or you have to replace it. And the last thing that you want to do is put in a battery that is used and worn out, and then you have to keep changing it over time, where instead you could just fully recharge the battery and then have that battery do its best work. Now, not every battery is made the same. Some brands are stronger than others, just like some runners have stronger mental and physical capabilities than others. That's just how life works. We all weren't born with the same genetics. We all have our strong suits in different areas. What's important is that you understand yourself, that you take note of yourself, that you journal what you can handle, what you can't, to experiment with different things. I encourage you to challenge yourself. Like, if you've never done 2 races in a month span, then try it. And if you realize, okay, I did this, this is making me enjoy running a little bit less, then take some steps back and then wait a couple months until the next race. If you are doing that and you feel incredible and you have more energy and you want to run another race, then run with that energy. I know this is something that probably isn't analyzed as deeply as I went into, but I think it's something that's important to know because like I said, what I care about the most is that you have running a part of your life to enhance all aspects of your life, to make you feel good about yourself physically, to give you more mental clarity and have an optimized way of thinking, to allow you to be more productive in your social life, in your professional life, all that great stuff, to find fulfillment with reaching those accomplishments that you didn't expect to be able to do, running distances further than you've ran, running a faster time than you've ever done. There's so many benefits of running, but with all those benefits can come consequences if not done in an intelligent way. But for me, sometimes I know I push myself a little too hard. I like to get to a point where I am uncomfortable and see how my body responds. That's a personal preference. I have a drive, I have a passion, I enjoy the process, but I deal with some of the side effects. And so I'm trying to level out those side effects and feel the best version of myself. And I learned a lot from running 2 marathons in such a short amount of time. If I didn't answer some of your questions on this and you need some one-on-one advice, go to runbreiter.com, schedule some time on my calendar. I'm happy to answer some of these questions for you. DM me, ask me the question too. I'm happy to answer it there. We appreciate everyone for listening. As always, don't forget to run brighter, and we'll be back with another one here real soon. Thanks.